Excuse me, sir. Does this podcast contain spoilers for the movie Stephen King's It? It does? Well, you better let them out.
Aren't you going to say hello? Oh, come on, go. Aren't you going to say hello? Oh, come on, go.
This is Diabolical, the comedy podcast where four long-suffering friends dissect films' most dastardly schemes, then try to improve them. I'm your host Gaz, and this week's movie is 1990s television two-parter Stephen King's It. So, Peril Pals, put on your bright yellow cagoule, ride your favourite bike down a very steep hill, and four in attendance, and the billions listening at home. Let's get diabolical!
A reasonable decibel for once.
I've got a volume control on the side of my headset, so I just turned it down a little bit.
A volumizer or a volumator?
A volumetronic, I call it.
I just tilt my head and the wax kind of just
sloshes around. That's one of the benefits of not having them syringed.
Hello and welcome to this week's pod, on which I am joined by the panel of Peril, who will compete at the show's close to see who can improve the villainous plan of the week the best to win points for our Season 3 leaderboard in the show's competitive round. There's sure to be some ups, as well as some downs. But for now, if you would introduce yourselves and tell us who or what is your favourite childhood entertainer.
This is going to be a good one. I can feel it in my waters. Hello, I'm Ben, and my favourite children's entertainer are the Chuckle Brothers.
Yes, quite.
To me, to you.
Yeah, we saw them live, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And no slacking.
Did you ever see the Chuckle Brothers got hired by PlayStation or whatever company makes Hitman on the PlayStation?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they got the Chuckle Brothers to play Hitman.
Yeah.
Garrot him!
Yeah, it was
Garrot
really
him!
Inspired.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
And Adam.
Hello there. This is your friend Adam, and my favourite 80s entertainer.
Well, they're entertainers because, again, it's people you can't really separate. From the television programme Rainbow, it's Rod, Jane and Freddie, who had their own spin-off series as well.
What was their spin-off series?
Rod, Jane, Freddie, I think.
Oh. Well, I've never heard of it, so there.
Countertacular here. I took entertainer to mean somebody who hosted something that wasn't a scripted show, per se. So just based on that, I went with the person whose non-comedy, non-drama show I had the most VHS tapes of, which would have been Johnny Ball. Zoe Ball's dad used to tape his show religiously.
Why?
I just really liked it. I don't know what to tell you. Johnny Ball reveals all.
Did you get a lot of rewatches in on them once you taped it?
No.
Did you make sweet labels for them?
I used to tape that. I used to tape Woof, where the kid turned into a dog after he got naked.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's a good show.
It's like Teen Wolf, but for kids.
Yeah. But if I was thinking of people from scripted stuff, I probably would have picked Ace from Doctor Who.
Oh, that's an up.
Barry Chuckle will be turning in his grave that he didn't get a fucking whistle.
Hang on, I'll give him a slightly belated.
Posthumous.
Give him a rise from the dead.
And as for me, I'm picking my old friend from the Die Hard episode, Timmy Mallet, which I've subsequently remembered. I've actually seen him live at university. He came and did the student union and played Mallet's Mallet live.
Oh, I bet, yeah. I bet he was a big feature on the student culture.
It was really good.
Did he have like colourful plasters, or were they just like basic ones for budget reasons?
Oh, they were just basic ones, yeah.
Rob from the NHS.
He didn't lower himself to like swearing and making it edgy for the student crowd. It was just like the kids' version.
Good for him.
So it was really good. Everybody loved it.
Authentic. That's what you're looking for. It was authentic mallet.
I did wonder if one of us was going to say Rolf Harris, but we didn't.
That's a down.
You used to love Rolf Harris, Gaz.
Yeah, you were in Rolf's cartoon
You
club.
were in the club? Oh, you saw Rolf's club.
You can join today.
Yeah.
What?
I rescinded my membership quite recently.
You tried to tear up your membership card, but it's laminated, so you just threw it in the bin.
Rolf's always one step ahead.
I tried to do a social media performative post ripping it up, but I just looked like a fool. It, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace of Halloween and Halloween 3 Season of the Witch fame, was screened over 2 nights on America's ABC channel, garnering 30 million viewers across those 2 parts and very positive reviews. Adapted from Stephen King's near 1,000-page long novel of the same name, the filmmakers managed to capture the essence of the book very faithfully, whilst having to cut swathes of material principally about how the town of Derry has something rotten at the core of its collective soul that helps to enable Pennywise. Telling the tale of a nostalgic childhood summer ruined by an alien life form that takes the form of a clown in order to be a serial killer of children, it is a tale never forgotten if you saw it at the right, i.e. young age. Great location shooting, wonderful performances by both the young cast and their older counterparts, and an excellent score help elevate it above the standard of other TV adaptations of King's work. And of course, Tim Curry's incredible, indelible performance as Pennywise the Dancing Clown places him among the most iconic of American movie monsters, alongside Leatherface, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Jason Voorhees. So, what did everybody think of the movie? Let's go with Countertacular.
You've summed up a lot of my feelings about it there. Not only is it one of the best small screen adaptations we've seen of King's work for me, I think for the time, so 1990, for TV miniseries, it was a cut above. We're kind of used to seeing prestige TV these days, but there were a lot of times when this felt like genuinely cinematic, and I was really impressed by the production quality. And as you say, the performances, some of the cast are some favourite TV actors of mine, so always nice to see them. On the whole, as you say, couldn't be 100% faithful to the book because it would have been batshit and it would have had the Space Pope in it. But more faithful than the recent duology of movies, although I did quite enjoy those too. So yeah, 8 thumbs up from me.
Not too shabby.
8 thumbs is how many thumbs it has. It is like a spider.
Of course, I think we all know that. And Ben?
Yeah, it's just a fantastic story, isn't it? And that's what keeps you engaged. For me, especially the first half with the younger cast, it's just brilliant. It's like a Stand By Me horror almost. It's just it's wonderful. I did think you mentioned the score. I felt the score was a little bit TV. I don't know, it was obviously a made-for-TV movie, but because everything else, as Craig says, was so cinematic, the score for me felt a little bit made-for-TV movie.
At times, I would agree with you. Like, there were bits of it that were like season 1 Buffy the Vampire Slayer, very clearly synthesized sounds.
Yeah.
But there were other bits of it that I thought were great, especially the opening credits music. I thought it was really good.
That's obviously where the budget went on the soundtrack, yeah.
There's a load of little piano motifs throughout, though, isn't there? And that's nice. That it doesn't need to be much more than that, does it? And I think it's really quite an understated score, really, and I think it's quite thoughtful.
Yeah, there's a bit of music, particularly where I think they're walking into the forest. I think maybe it's the first time they kind of get together as a group when the bullies are throwing rocks at them. And it doesn't suit the scene at all, the music that's played.
I think that might be one of the parts that brought me out of it a little bit. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But like I say, the story's so good, you're not out of it for long anyway.
Yeah.
And it was a real treat to see young Seth Green in there.
Yeah, I didn't remember that he was in it.
Me neither, I didn't realise
I
at all.
totally forgot, to be honest, as well, yeah.
I would have told you the first thing I saw him in was the X-Files, but I would have been wrong. Dead wrong.
What do you think, Adam?
Well, you'll be unsurprised to hear that this movie was one of the frequent scary movies I used to watch as a kid. It was on the VHS. It was on the old Scotch tape. I think it was on its own because it was 3 hours. Maybe it was on long play, so it might have been 2 films on there. But I remember watching it a lot, me and my brother. And I think it's very much... Again, it's obvious it's a movie of 2 halves. But I think the first movie compared to the second movie is entirely different, and the feel of the second one, it doesn't compare to the first. There's good performances all around, but I think the child actors really run rings around the adults.
Even John Ritter?
Yeah. I just think
even John Walton?
Yeah, even John Boy Walton, yeah. Good night, John.
He's got a lovely ponytail though, hasn't he?
Even Annette O'Toole?
Yeah, even Annette O'Toole.
I don't know.
Yeah. I
Tim Reed.
I think the kids do a fantastic job in that first half. So much, but the second one is, well, we'll get into it in a bit, but I think Tim Curry, he's the enduring image of this movie, and that's the first thing you think of. It's him as the monster.
Yeah.
I guess he's sort of like harks back to the early days of horror where you think of Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney Jr. You immediately associate him with it.
Yeah.
And maybe Robert Englund as well. But I think he's in that bracket of actors where he's not just limited to that role, but he's synonymous with it. And without him there, it definitely wouldn't have been as successful. But I really enjoyed the rewatch. Haven't seen it for a good few years now, so yeah, it was great.
Good stuff. As for myself, I would echo the vast majority of what everybody said. The first part is the best part. It captures the thing that Stephen King's so good at, which is, even though your circumstances are massively different, be it geographically or life experience, he taps into a childhood nostalgia that's quite universal and relatable. The Barrens in it just reminds me of so many places in North Wales, going to his kids, and after having seen it, I could imagine Pennywise appearing in many of them as a nipper. Tim Curry's just, I think he's incredible. He's so insidious as Pennywise, so unassuming. Without wanting to slag the new versions off, it's played very much like he's a complete freak instantly. Like, there's no way kids would want to be near this thing, whereas Tim Curry plays him like a reasonable, friendly person before the turn, and I think it's far scarier for that. The direction, just little things in it, like there never being anybody on the streets in Derry, which is a choice they made. It wasn't a budgetary thing. I think is brilliant. It makes this place feel wrong, which it is. Yeah, I think for an old, what we talking now, over 30-year-old TV movie on quite a lean budget, it's held up so well. And like Craig said, Countertacular, you're very beautiful. Like Countertacular said, these days we're so used to prestige TV, it doesn't look to the standard of present day prestige TV. But it looked amazing for the time, and I think it still holds up. So, yes, I'm glad everybody enjoyed it.
Totally agree. Yeah. Really
yeah, you got to think that stuff that came along hot on its heels, like Twin Peaks and the X-Files, probably saw that and thought, we can create something that looks this good for TV now. A lot of it's to do with lighting and the way they use the location shoots, which a lot of TV directors fuck up, don't they? They go to a location and you don't see it because they shoot it from all the wrong angles and that kind of thing. Just wanted to say for our international audience that Scotch tape is a brand of cassette in the UK, not a brand of sticky tape.
That's true.
Yeah.
Turner wasn't drawing out it on a roll of tape.
Yeah, well,
across this room.
I might do that someday in my life. Probably be very bored, but
Did you watch it all in one sitting?
No, I watched the first half, then I watched the second half.
I did that, yeah, just for old time's sake.
I watched it all in one sitting.
Yeah, me too.
It was all together on one film. It was like 3 hours, and I was like, well, I'm just going to do it the old school way.
Well, I've got it on a double-sided DVD, if you can believe such a thing still exists.
Wow.
Old school.
Should we go to favourite sequences then?
Hells yeah.
Mine's easily the restaurant scene. Even though it's in the second part, which I think we all agree is the weaker part. I just think that scene is a real standout. Not just the climax of it, but the scene as a whole, where they're back together, they're reminiscing. They don't know yet that their friend has killed himself, do they?
Right, Stan.
No, I don't think so.
I just thought it was really, really well played scene by everybody in it.
It seems like they're really getting pissed and just making each other laugh, doesn't it?
Yeah.
From what I've heard, that might be the case, because it seemed like they were all very pally.
Yeah, there definitely is a camaraderie there, isn't there? So
Yeah. How could you not be pally with bloody John Ritter?
I know.
yeah, bless him.
What say you, Ben?
My favourite scene, there's so many. One that I loved really early on was the first look at Pennywise among the washing.
Yeah.
Like they're hanging on the line.
Horrid.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just such a great introduction to him.
It's the thing moving back and forth, isn't it? It's the washing moving back and forth. He's like, fuck, I get goosebumps thinking about it now. It's horrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you're getting at. It's brilliant.
I love that. And it's another Pennywise scene, but when he's in the library with the clacker.
Yeah, look, that's your washing machine running.
And he's doing that mad laugh.
Yeah.
Get
out,
brilliant.
Get out.
I've got loads more, but yeah, those are the two big ones for me.
Adam?
Well, I think the scariest bit is Richie when he goes into the basement and he's faced with the werewolf. And that's like double scare, isn't it? It's like fucking it's a werewolf. Then it turns into him, and he's fucking around with him. So that's horrid as well. But then my next favourite one is when he's digging the graves.
Oh yeah,
a burt, Billy boy. He's not particularly. He doesn't do much scary just in that, but it's just he's there, isn't he? And then it's after all these years. He's there and he's going, I'm still fucking here and I'm going to get you. It's just that, brilliant. But it's just Tim Curry, isn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah, like everybody said earlier, if you'd have cast someone else, it may not have been as indelible as it is. Maybe wouldn't have even got the new version without the collective memory of this version. But my favourite sequence is childhood Beverly in her bathroom when she hears the voice in the drain, and then you get the balloon and it bursts with blood everywhere and it's bubbling up, and she calls her abusive father because she's afraid, and he can't see this blood absolutely everywhere. And he puts his hand in it, and then he rubs her face and rubs blood over her face that he can't see.
Yeah,
there's something obviously visceral because it's blood, but in terms of the parents not being able to see something that is genuinely there, which again is a real childhood thing that I think a lot of us can relate to in terms of being afraid of things that may or may not be there.
Yeah, is that how you read it? So that it's there and he can't see it, not that it's not there and she can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they all come around to help cleaning it up, don't they? The losers.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if that was just a collective hallucination that they're all being subjected to by Pennywise.
I think they explain it as adults stop being afraid of things that go bump in the night, so they simply don't see them. I'm pretty sure that's the line of dialogue.
Right. Yeah, the abusive parents are the real monsters in this, right? That's not just true of her, but kind of a lot of them.
Her father's sort of stock line of, I worry about you, Beverly. I worry a lot. It's it's sort of classic gaslighting, abusive person, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the guise of being caring, being awful.
Yeah.
And then she falls into that as she grows up and she marries that dickhead at Underworld in Coronation Street, it looks like to me.
For me, the real monster was Bill's ponytail as an adult.
It's bad, isn't it?
Oh, it's awful.
I think that's because Stephen King had a ponytail at the time.
It's obviously the Stephen King character, obviously.
Yeah.
But goddamn, hideous.
Yeah.
I don't think he cameos in this one, does he? Is he in it at any point, Stephen King?
I don't think
Anybody
so.
spot him?
I didn't see him.
No. He sells Bill his bike back in the new version, doesn't he? He runs the shop.
Right. Speaking of Bill's ponytail showing up, I really like the narrative framing of it, that it starts with the present and flashes back to the kids. And I think that I keep forgetting his real name. I'm just going to call him John Boy. That he really sells finding out it's back. Yeah, you can see everything in his performance there about how you would feel. Setting the tone.
I think it's quite hard to play a stutter as well without it seeming like just an acting affectation, but I think he plays that quite well too. Its sudden reappearance.
Yeah, Jonathan Brandis as well, who I was a big fan of. Tragically committed suicide at a young age, but he was in Sequest DSV, if you remember that.
Oh yeah, of course he was.
With Roy Scheider.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you all, and I don't think there's no wrong or right answer to it. Where the fuck is Greco from?
She has a very strange accent, doesn't she?
He's got a fucking really strange accent, Greco. I tell you, whatever her name is, Audra, blah, blah, blah. He sounds like he's from South Wales 1 minute, then he's going into like Italian or Spanish, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, I was talking about Audra, sorry. I misremembered her name.
Oh, the manager.
Yeah. It's what's the name? It's Bill's agent or manager and her manager, isn't it? Or something like that.
You'd imagine Greece, wouldn't you, with a name like that?
Yeah. But it just his accent is like all over the shop.
Well, apparently the actor who played him, Russell Roberts, was Welsh. So
there you go. Correct. Cool.
What did you think of Audra, by the way? Because she was
bit of a drip.
Not a bad actress, but I don't think her performance in this is the best. Not at the start, anyway.
I recently saw her in Black Christmas as well, and I thought she was awful in that. So, not to slag her off too much, but that's two things I've seen her in where I've just been slightly nonplussed by her performances. She answers the first phone call from the baddie in Black Christmas, and she goes, "Hello? Hello? Hello!" Like, it's mad. It's really over the top instantly. So she lost me straight away.
This is drifting into favourite lines, but this is actually my least favourite. But it was from her, and I'm not sure if it's her performance. Perhaps it is her performance, but also she wasn't given great lines, because one of her lines was, "I'd like a seat on your next flight to the United States." Think about that. Think about that.
Yeah,
and she's sort of just staring off.
How can you deliver a line like a seat on your next flight to the United States? All right, we've got about 12 of them, love. Which ones?
Fucking loads of planes going there, love. Would you want to be a bit more specific?
I guess nothing dialogue-wise stood out to me, so I do not have a favourite line.
Oh my god!
My goodness, there was so many.
Loads. I got loads. My favourite one is when Eddie, as an adult, goes into the old pharmacy, and the pharmacist goes, "Nothing like a pull on the old lung sucker, eh?" He's handed him his thing. I was like, what the fuck? Ridiculous line.
I love it when is it Ben is kissing Beverly, but then it turns out to be Pennywise.
Yes.
Kiss me, fat boy. He's got the white makeup smitted up his face.
That's brilliant. That's one of the highlights of the part 2, I think.
Yeah.
How shit is Henry Bowers as well as an adult?
Yeah.
Why does he look 20 years older than the rest of them? I know he's got white hair, obviously, but he still looks like he looks like Compo from Last of the Summer Wine.
Yeah, no, I think they could have done a bit more with Bowers being grown up.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I remember him in the first part. He's much more of a presence, isn't he? But then in the second one, he goes like, "Here you go, get out of here," and then just. That's it.
The kid that plays Henry Bowers is awesome. He's
creep.
Really good.
Yeah.
Because he has to be so unlikable, and he just nails it.
He's got a good look as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Mm.
I think in the novel, if I remember rightly, Bowers is described as smelling of BO and juicy fruit chewing gum. And he looks exactly like he would smell of BO and juicy fruit chewing gum.
Yeah.
There was a nice little cameo that I spotted of an X-Files actor.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Who was that?
The smoking guy.
Yeah, William B. Davis.
Yeah, I've got that as well. Yeah.
Where is he? I didn't see that.
He's the school principal.
Yeah, Richie bumps into him and his tray goes over him. Yeah.
I must have been making notes.
He's fucking really tall, isn't he?
I was writing a note about the worst thing Bowers does is smearing mashed potato on Richie's glasses. I was like, you don't fucker. My favourite line, I think it's more down to Tim Curry's delivery than anything. is it's in the sewers when they first take Pennywise out at the end of part 1, and he says, "I am the eater of worlds and of children, and you are next." It's very forceful and intimidating. It could be quite a stock baddie line, that, couldn't it? But the delivery makes it.
Yes, I agree. It's like one of those. It could easily be a throwaway line for sure, but it's the malice that it's delivered with is it's something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't touched on it yet, but the iconic line is, "When you're down here with me, you'll float too."
It's that whole performance in that sequence when he's explaining to him, and then when Georgie says, "Do they float?" and then his demeanor changes like that, doesn't he? And you can see he's like, "I'm gonna get him."
Yeah.
You know, it's like somebody, you can see the dinner coming from miles away, and he's like, "Oh, it's coming," and he's like that, isn't it? And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of so iconic, and obviously they use it, not verbatim, but similar lines in the film version. That's probably why I wasn't really absorbing a lot of the dialogue, because it's just, it's all stuff I was expecting to hear, because I'm kind of so familiar with the subject matter.
Right, yeah. It's even gone on to become common parlance. People use it in conversation a lot.
Yeah.
The thing that I do like in the new version is that they literalize that, don't they? When Pennywise traps them in the deadlights, they are floating in midair, and their face like distorts and their eyes go white. That's very cool.
Yeah,
they did that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Just kind of on the production value, one of the things that impressed me was the very Stephen King-esque font that they used in the opening credits. I like a good font, especially in a Stephen King-related thing. As I'm sure I told you before, up until season 4, my two favourite things about Stranger Things were the music and the font. I really like Stranger Things now, but up until then I was on the fence about everything apart from the music and the font. But I kept tuning in just to watch the opening credits for those first 3 seasons. There.
You could just watch the first episode again and again. It's got the same credits.
Oh yeah, but something special about watching it on a different episode, isn't there?
Fair enough.
And seeing when they add more actors, how they change the speed that the letters come in and stuff.
Right. I found that opening credits very obviously TV movie, and so.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like that
bit cheese for me.
It could have easily been like a trashy melodrama / erotic thriller.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Red Shoe Diaries.
What about the effects? I was wondering what people thought of the effects. Obviously, it's of its day, but there were a few standouts for me. Not all for great reasons, but
yeah, I think I know what you're going to say.
The clown body with the tiny Rottweiler head, I thought was very funny.
That's all right. Yeah, it's good. I like that.
I think the lights in the tunnel look amazing.
Yeah,
the dead lights when you see them in tunnel look really good.
Like the POV shot,
like just from outside as well, where they spiral around.
Oh, go through the piping.
Yeah. It just looks really organic.
Yeah, that's great.
Just seem otherworldly, doesn't it?
Yeah. The photo I thought was done really well. The photo coming to life.
Yeah.
Georgie,
yeah.
Or the bit with Pennywise.
The bit with
Pennywise dancing down the street. Yeah. I thought it just looked great.
There's I assume this is what Turner thought I was going to say. The visual effects shot of Pennywise jumping down the hole in the sewer.
Oh yeah,
a bit ropey. But it works because it's so freaky. I think he's like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's one of those. You notice it, but I like it. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
I think my favourite special effect is the hand reaching out of the book. I think that's really well done.
Yeah.
Simple but very effective.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say as well the bit right at the end where Bev shoots the earring into the thing's its stomach, and there's like a tiny little explosion. Then it just trots off. I was like, what the fuck's going on there?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
And then it's just standing there, and it gets kicked to shit.
In the book, it's sensitive to silver specifically when it's a werewolf.
It doesn't really have any impact on it, does it? I don't think.
She kind of chips away at its chitin. It's all chitinous armour there.
Chitinous, yeah.
I think that in the book, the space pope, like you say, does play a part. He depowers Pennywise by suddenly appearing, and they also have a childhood orgy where they all shag Beverly for some reason because they've got to lose their innocence.
Oh God!
Is the thing to debower him slightly? Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know why they didn't do that in the film.
A very sensible cut.
Yeah, I was thinking after I watched this, I thought, I'll have to download the audiobook and give it a listen, but I'm not going to bother now.
No, it's brilliant. It is brilliant. That's obviously dodgy.
That's
but...
fucking really strange. How inappropriate is Bill kissing Bev when she arrives at the restaurant as well?
Yeah.
She turns up and she's like, "Hey, look at the 3 most handsome fellas I've ever seen." Struts in, and then Bill just goes like that.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
That was their orgy compromise.
You can neck on with her, but only once.
Bill and Ben, double teamer. Flubber-dub.
He's got the Little House on the Prairie fame. He can do what he wants, can't he, on set?
Do you mean the Waltons?
Yeah,
Little House on the Prairie?
Wherever he was in. Aren't they the same show? I thought one was a prequel to the other.
Hell no. Not even set in the same time period.
All right.
Very, very different shows.
Not even set on the same prairie.
Or in the same size of house. In Stephen King's It, the ancient intergalactic alien Pennywise terrorizes the small town of Derry, Maine, preying on the fears of young children before consuming them or trapping them in the liminal space of his deadlights. In 1960, however, he meets his match in the Loser Club, a group of 7 friends who take it upon themselves to bring the fight to the evil clown following the opening events of the film. Downing the clown before his traditional 30-odd year hibernation cycle, they fall back into the old gang and town as Pennywise returns to Maine in 1990 to consume more children and get revenge against the losers who defeated him nearly 3 decades prior. So, what did we all think of Pennywise's scheme?
It's a scheme of 2 halves. And in the first half, he kind of goads them into remembering him and returning to Derry. And he's pretty successful at that. Gets one of them out of the way before they even get there, which is also a pretty good outcome. But after that, he's not really prepared for them, is he? You know, they beat him when they were little, and now they're big. So I think maybe he should have thought twice about, riling them up and shining them on.
I think he's banking too heavily on Bowers, isn't he? Possibly.
Yeah.
As his Renfield to help him.
Yeah, I think that's an evolving part of his plot, isn't it? Because when they're first arriving back, and then he's scaring them, isn't he, to begin with? But then they get together, and then they're humming and ahhing, and some of them want to stay, others want to go, and then they decide they're going to have a go at it. And he ropes him in, and obviously it doesn't work out particularly well for him. And there's a few things that he probably could have been a bit more proactive, but I guess he's been very successful for hundreds of years, hasn't he, up until that point?
Picking off one kid at a time, yeah, but this time he's outnumbered, he's outmatched, he's outgunned.
Yeah.
If Bowers had his 2 mates with him still, and they'd had a bath that they could ride down a hill, then maybe they would have been in with a chance.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite dastardly, though, innit? Using the kids' greatest fears against them to freak them the fuck out and then
empower yourself.
Eat them because their fear is tasty. The best one for me was going to poor hypochondriac Eddie as a leper. That was just cruel. So I'm giving him 10 florets of broccoli.
Ooh,
too shabby.
Nice.
That's quite high on the broccoli scale.
He's going to eat them up and he's going to go, ugh.
He's not.
I don't like broccoli.
He's going to use them to scare kids. Everyone knows kids hate broccoli.
Yeah, they do. Silly kids.
Okay, I've changed the order a bit, so I'm gonna, before we do our plans,
we're gonna vote.
No, no. Asking for likes and subscribes before we do our plans, in case people just fucking turn it off before we get to that bit.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good shout, actually, yeah.
What's this extra bit at the end? Did you just forget to stop recording? They're outtakes, they're on every week. Before I go any further, just telling you now, if you don't like and subscribe and give us a review, We're not giving you our plans, okay?
You're wasting your own time right now.
Just going to sit here.
What if they're already subscribed? They're just sitting here getting angry.
They're the good ones. They'll be happy to wait.
Yeah, if they're already subscribed, they'll be expecting nonsense like this, right?
Yeah.
If you like what you hear each week, please subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts if you're on there. It's the best platform to help us grow the podcast, and you Peril Pals play an important part in that process. We haven't had any reviews in a hot minute, so please do throw us a frickin' bone here. If you aren't on Apple, rate us on your provider of choice. It will make a difference, I promise you. This is the part of the show where the panel of Peril compete for precious Peril points on the Perilous leaderboard. Each member gets 1 vote, which will equal 1 point on the board, but you cannot vote for yourself, you little tykes! How can we possibly improve upon Pennywise the Dancing Clown's evil scheme is my question. Now, let's do this! First plan, can we have Count-Atacular, please?
Certainly. Pennywise. 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 Pennywise is its name. Penny, penny, pen, pen. Seriously though, what a fucking misnomer. It should be called Halfpenny Unwise, because for a creature of its age, it's sorely lacking in wisdom. If it wants to win, it needs to do some maturing, which is a little joke for readers of the book there. That's the name of the space pope, you see. When there's a chance you might be killed by a fucking catapult, you're begging for trouble by announcing your return to a disparate group of soft around the middle 40-somethings who had otherwise more or less forgotten you even exist, and goading them into a showdown. Instead of his in-your-face, bursting a balloon full of blood in your face approach, I would take a more subtle approach to revenge. Stan is now a successful accountant, so let's hit him where it hurts, in the wallet. I show him an image of all his stocks tanking, and things end for him the way they always did. Acting as his bank, I first repossess, then later possess his pride and joy, a 1958 Plymouth Fury. Eddie is the lowest hanging fruit, so now I'm warmed up, I get started in earnest by convincing Eddie that he has developed electromagnetic hypersensitivity and xeroderma pigmentosum photosensitivity.
That's easy for you to say.
Yes. Ensuring the little hypochondriac will never leave the house. To further torture him, a 1958 Plymouth Fury drives past his house every night between 1 and 4 a.m. honking. Next up is former fat boy Ben, now a lean and successful adult. Let's try for a twofer and let him hook up with Beverly. As they drive off into the sunset together in a recently acquired 1958 Plymouth Fury, she gives him a handy, and, distracted, he crashes into a Romani woman, killing her on impact. Her father curses him to lose weight uncontrollably. His only way out to trick someone else into consuming his blood baked into a pie. Blaming Beverly for her reckless wrist action, and for not even finishing him off, thank you very much, she becomes the recipient of said pie. But when I reveal it was not she that did the shandy, but me, he eats his own pie and joins her in death. And what to do about old Bill? Simple. Convince him to release lesser works under a pen name, then later to reveal the deception and see the increase in sales. He'll still be successful, but the doubt that he is living off his own name will nag at him forever. Storming out of a book signing where a fan reminded him of this, he gets into an RTA with a 1958 Plymouth Fury, but is rescued by Annie Wilkes, who cuts off his feet. Then, to aid his recovery, I invite him to take care of the Overlook Hotel for the winter, where he can put up his ankles and knuckle down on his next book.
Put up his ankles.
Jokester Richie is an easy mark too. Buying up all the tickets for his gigs, I take the form of the whole audience and make sure that he dies every single night. And, always seated near the bar, you guessed it, a 1958 Plymouth Fury. That just leaves Mike, now a friendless librarian, somewhat aware that I'm back making a buffet of Maine's children, but friendless and unable to act. But just in case, I will also possess a 1958 Plymouth Fury to run him over.
Whose pie is it?
Pie. That's. Have you ever seen Thinner with Charles Grodin?
No.
He runs over a Romani woman, and her father curses him, and he just keeps getting thinner and thinner, no matter what he eats. And to remove the curse, he has to put his blood in a pie, and get someone else to eat it.
He doesn't have to decide whether his best friend lives or dies, and his best friend is a pie.
No, he gives the pie to his wife because she was the one who jerked him off in the car and made him crash.
We've all been there.
His child also eats the pie, and he's so overcome with remorse that he eats the pie as well, and they just both starve to death together.
I find it very amusing, but I'm also lost.
There was a lot of detail to take in.
A lot of circumstantial goings on, I'd say. Very circumstantial.
I think I've earned some circumstantial goings on after all the various times I've had to quiz you guys on, this just happened, did it?
So you just boiled it into one plan?
Pretty much, yeah. The point is, be subtle, don't be in the face. Still prey on the weaknesses, but in a more subtle way.
Yeah, well, that's how I've been judging these plans, I've got to say, is boiling them down to the essence is the only way you can distinguish whether it would be a good plan.
Essence!
Exactly.
So the car was Christine.
The car was Christine.
Yeah.
A 1958 Plymouth Fury. Yeah. Yeah, a few Stephen King nods in there.
Christine is really good, the film. I've watched it 3 times in about the last 2 months. It's well worth a watch.
John Carpenter, isn't it?
Yeah. Any further
I
questions?
thought it was Stephen King.
Whack, whack.
Give me a whistle.
There we go.
What you'll be doing there, Craig, is edit out me asking for the whistle so it doesn't sound desperate.
Yeah. What I'll be doing is keeping in you asking for a whistle, and I'll be changing the up whistle to a down whistle.
Hang on, I'll give you the down. Okay, next, could we hear Ben's plan, please?
Beep, beep, panel of peril. You want to know how I'll get revenge on the little losers club now they're all grown up? Well, listen good. We know they ain't as scared of me as they used to be. Not as much as the other boys and girls. But revenge doesn't need to be scary. It could simply be annoying, too. So the next time Bill and his bestest gal are getting intimate, who should appear but their old pal Pennywise, with his own plate and cutlery. Ever tried making love to the discordant screech of steel on porcelain? Impossible. Hey, fat boy, got an important meeting? Try explaining the merits of pile-assisted raft foundations while someone's squeaking their fingers down the side of a balloon held only inches from your face. Ooh, Richie, looks like you're having a schmancy-pansy dinner with some of your Hollywood bigwigs. They asked you to pitch a sitcom, but wait. You can't focus because some schlub in white makeup on the next table is eating too loudly. Too bad, funny man. I do this for the next 30 years or so, just until the losers are old. Then I stop the clown nonsense and present myself as a gang of rowdy youths that loiter in their neighborhoods. Because as we all know, age dramatically increases our fear of everything, as we lose plasticity of the prefrontal cortex of the brain. In a final act of revenge, I flash them my deadlights and gorge myself on their fear-addled geriatric bodies. Ah, it's good. Beep, beep, dead fogey losers.
Particularly when you were doing the eating, you sounded very much like Krusty.
I was going for some kind of clown.
Yeah, somewhere between Pennywise and Krusty, yeah. Do you think maybe if they were that annoyed by his behaviour, maybe they would just try and just be like, I'm fucking sick of this guy. Let's go and kill him now.
But he's doing it borderline. He's just riding that sweet line, you know.
Sweet line between annoyance and being fine.
I think along similar lines to what I was.
Yeah.
Except that I thought he really needs to hide that it's him. But in yours, you said that there would be a guy in white makeup there.
Oh,
so
no, he's Pennywise. He's there. He's in the room. Like he's just squeaking a plate and fork.
for that reason, I think I'm with Turner, because I already killed a guy for doing that in a normal restaurant. Just put a butter knife right up his nose.
I'm presuming that the losers are all thinking, well, I can forgive him for killing all those kids when we were little, but he's properly doing my head in with these annoying noises now.
I'm not bothered about my little brother anymore. But now...
Bill's just thinking, this is really reminding me how fucking irritating Georgie used to be. You know, he used to come in my bedroom and piss me off.
You should have used him playing the bagpipes in there as well. That would have been like,
ooh, that would have been a good one. I also had him in my first draft about him just going up to people and getting velvet, but rubbing it against the grain. But I think that might be just something unique to me because I hate velvet.
Or clicking a pen.
Oh, that's a good one.
What about biting velvet? So
oh God! No. I hate velvet. I hate it.
What else could he do? Humming a song or whistling a song, just sort of like.
I hate tuneless whistling. I do hate that.
What about when you try and take a piss at a urinal, he comes to the stands next to you?
Yeah.
He's not going. He's just there.
There's loads of space that you can be at. He's standing right next to you.
Yeah.
Or you're in the cinema alone, and then he sits right next to you, just not doing anything else, just eating his popcorn, being normal. And every time you move, he just moves back next to you.
And he puts his drink in your
cup holder.
And like in bits of the film that he enjoys, he whispers loud enough for you to hear. That's really good.
So before we move on, I just got one request to you all. Forget the holes in the plan and remember the funny bits we just talked about there.
The bits we did.
That made it better.
Yeah.
I've written that down.
Did you deal with Mike and Beverly?
I didn't do them all separately, but he does go off and do separate things. Yeah. I just gave some examples of what he might do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I went to the trouble of dealing with everybody.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit long-winded, to be honest. I minus points for how long-winded yours was, you see. Yeah.
Thorough is what I thought. Thorough.
Right, I'll add half a point for thoroughness.
Okay, Adam, are you ready?
I am.
Superb.
He's not. He's still bloody drinking.
Just whetting the whistle.
Wetting the what?
Yep.
Well, that's how you wet a whistle.
Lovely. That's my whistle well whetted. Yes. After defeating Pennywise as children, the group of friends went their separate ways and moved on with their lives. But as they entered their 40s, cheery old Mike Hanlon reveals that Pennywise has returned. Holding true to their promise, they return to Derry. Pennywise, aware of their plan, remembers when he was beaten by the losers all those years ago and has come to realise their strength comes from their unity. As a team, together, they are impossible to beat. He decides to set a trap for them. He creates a fair on the edge of town, near the relatively new sewer treatment works, one that has some very special attractions. The friends are initially suspicious of the fair, but they're also drawn to it, just like they were drawn to the sewers as kids, and they realise that to defeat Pennywise, they will have to enter the fair. As they begin to explore the fair, Pennywise lurks in the shadows, watching and waiting for the right moment to strike. He begins to pick them off, one by one, each getting more and more lost in their own personal nightmares. Pennywise lures Bill away into a fortune teller's tent. The fortune teller reveals secrets from Bill's past, including his guilt over his brother's Georgie's death. Most importantly, she, Pennywise, tells him his books are crap and have shit titles.
The glowing? What the hell is that? Why not call your next book The Sparkling, you gimp, and your ponytail is shit?
Endlessly mocking him until he's curled up in fetus position in the corner.
Pennywise entices Beverly with a hall of mirrors that reflects her worst self. She sees herself as a lonely and unloved woman who can't form fulfilling relationships. Pennywise appears in the mirrors as a grotesque version of herself, mocking her horrid sense of fashion that will quickly become dated and that makes her look like a frumpy old woman.
You look like Martha Stewart on acid. No wonder blokes want to smack you about,
she shrieks. Beverly tries to run, tears streaming down her face, but is faced at every turn by the horrific vision of her future self and can't escape. Pennywise targets Richie by luring him into a funhouse. The funhouse is filled with doppelgangers of his childhood friends, all of whom have turned against him. Pennywise appears as a clown version of Richie, taunting him with the deepest fears of appearing in terrible films that make absolutely no sense.
Richie, you'll make a film where you're sword fighting with a fucking tennis racket. And you think people might find that funny? Have you heard of Eddie Murphy? John Candy? You're a fossil, Richie. And when I crap out your bones, you'll be an actual fossil,
cackles Pennywise. Pennywise continues to pick off the other friends in fashion similar to that, until they have all succumbed to his visions and taunting. Nothing more than quivering wrecks. Separated, alone, and with nobody to give them some encouragement or to tell them not to believe the visions, the losers are doomed. With his fear tank brimmed to the max, Pennywise is at the height of his power, and with his victims in a state of paralysis, it allows the carnivore to eat at its own leisure, making him a beautiful but deadly addition to Jurassic Park. I've done the other ones, like you say, but I thought I wasn't going to go into every single one but I have got them here if you care to read them afterwards. So.
Could you bullet point them? But before you do, I've got one question, and it's not really about your plan.
Yeah.
I just want to know, what is a fortune teller?
Fortune teller? It's like that old gypsy woman that sits in a tent with a crystal ball and do all that.
What do they do? With the crystal ball? To tell you about their past? Is that what they do?
Yeah, and his future and stuff.
Oh, it's just because you said that he went to see a fortune teller who told him all about his past. That's what I was.
I got
Columbo.
Yeah,
I got Columbo mind.
Pastune teller.
Yeah, but it just goes off into it was just basically to lure him in and then basically to degrade him and just run him down essentially.
So like they know, I think, don't they, that their power comes from them being together.
Yeah.
So they go to this fun fair together.
Yeah.
But then Bill just goes, "Oh, I'll just go. I'll be back in a minute. I've just seen a fortune teller."
But it's like in the film, they all get separated. They get separated like off at different points. Then like Bill runs after order and stuff like that. So they will. They tend to go off and stuff on their own anyway, don't they? They sort of like And because it's his place he's made, he can just do what he wants and just filter them off gradually. And that's why he's built the place. He wants to get them where his power is, and then he can do what he wants with them from there, separate them off or whatever, and trick them and things like that. Because they know they have to face him for it to end, and they know that this is where they're being pulled to. And although they know it's like going to be a trap, like the sewers is a terrible idea, but they still do it anyway. So they go to this place as well.
All right, bullet point the others. How did you get
okay, so Eddie Kasprak, basically, he goes into like a room somewhere in the fun fair. There's a sexy woman in lingerie facing away from him. As he turns around, it's his mum, and she starts dry humping him.
How sexy? How sexy? Turner, just say how sexy.
Very sexy. There we go. That's paid for itself, hasn't it?
That's Babs Windsor sexy.
Yeah, that is, yeah. Mike, he basically, because of his history, he's into history and stuff, that he goes into like a exhibit of dolls and stuff like that, and Pennywise is like George Washington and Davy Crockett and just running him down saying he's shit at history and stuff like that, and attacking him with like...
You're shit at history.
You're shit at history. I don't know, I didn't write anything for that. I've just written a brief synopsis for each one.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's enough to break a man.
Ben is he goes on a ghost train where he goes through traumatic memories, and all the ghosts in the ghost train are food like Twinkies, hot dogs, and pizza that start flying into his mouth and try and suffocate him. And then Stan is because he's like a collector of birds and stuff like that. There's loads of birds in a room, and they're just like shitting all over him and stuff like that, basically.
Tell him he's rubbish at birds.
No, it's just like birds.
Just based on this week and last week, I'm just going to give you a little bit of friendly advice, and that's if you're thinking of cutting something from your plan, don't. Just keep it in.
That was amazing. A quick question for you, Turner. How are fossils made again? Are they bones that have been shut out?
I did think about asking about that one.
Yeah, well, because they're bones in the ground, aren't they? And then when Pennywise shits it out, and then all the earth piles on top of it for years and years and years, and eventually they'll come up to him and go, "Oh, look, there's bones there," and it's a fossil of the bloke who's been shit out by a clown.
Maybe Pennywise has got very narrow intestines, and it takes him a long time to do his shit.
Could be
Pressure plus time.
He could poop out an actual fossil. Yeah. He could if he's like his last meal before he goes to sleep. And he beds down and he's lying on his
30
tummy.
years. It's brewing.
Yeah, he could, and then when he gets up and just I got a turtle poking out.
Is that you, Maturian?
And we shall finish with my plan.
As is tradition.
He's been laying in wait for 27 years. 27 years of hatred. 27 years filled with malice. 27 years to conjure the perfect revenge. What made this group, these losers, different from all the rest that Pennywise has devoured over the last century? What made them so special? What makes them think they can win? The righteous indignation that there is something wrong in Derry, but none of the adults care enough to do anything about it. Georgie, the sorrow felt deep in Bill's delicious marrow, transferred to the rest of his gang. They want the same thing that Pennywise does. Revenge. Drawing the old gang back to town as adults, in the same fashion as in the film, Pennywise makes his first new move following his fortune cookie escapade at the Chinese restaurant. The losers are caught in a downpour upon leaving the establishment, and Pennywise takes this as his opportunity to rub some salt in their collective wounds. The storm drains are rapidly filling to the point of overflowing as the evil jester comes sailing down the street in a giant paper boat, wearing a pirate's hat, laughing maniacally as he comes. "Hey there, Billy boy! D'you miss me? My. Look how you've all grown! Just like this here paper boat! You remember this boat, don't you? All grown up it is. Unlike your brother what gave it to me. Georgie's still with me, Bill. Still a little boy. Still floating down there with me and the rest of the boys and girls. And you will too. You'll have to get me before I get you. And I will get you. Ta-ta for now!
Can you say TTFN instead?
No, that's far too modern.
Oh, that's it. You're not getting my point.
TTFN wasn't invented till 1994. This was 1990, so...
Okay, fair enough.
Are you sure? Isn't it from Winnie the Pooh?
No, you're thinking of... oh, could I have a smackle of crackery?
And with that, he sails off down the street before somewhat improbably disappearing down the farthest storm drain. He doesn't need to wait to see the reaction of the losers. Then he does much the same stuff as in the film. Mrs. Kirsch at Beverly's childhood home, the balloons at the library for Richie, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. But here's the real kicker. Once the boys and girls kill a clown from outer space to his sewer lair, Pennywise does not revert to his true arachnid form. Instead, he backs himself into a corner, calmly chuckling away to himself. You've been waiting for this moment, haven't you, Bill? You, and Eddie, and Richie, and Beverly, all of you pukes. He produces a large knife, more a machete than anything really, from behind some piping, and points it towards each of his opponents in turn, silently staring a hole through them as he does so. Then the clown takes the knife and plunges it into his own heart, his mouth curling into a half-smile, half-sneer as he does so. Blinding light begins to pour from his wound as he grimly intones, "For some reason, this is how I activate my spaceship. No revenge for this time, boys and girls. Time for Pennywise to go bye-bye. You just remember Georgie. Remember him floating with me on the other side for all eternity, and how you failed him." And with that, he's gone, blasting off into the cosmos to a new planet to continue his murderous ways as the losers look on aghast that they were unable to be the adult hands that tucked away their childhood nightmares for their big sleep. Well, that's my plan.
So they don't get revenge. He doesn't really get revenge on them, then, does he?
His revenge on them is robbing them of their revenge.
Yes. That they have to live with the fact that they were never able to avenge Georgie's death.
Okay.
But won't they forget about that shortly after?
No, because
once his influence goes away, they forget, right?
No, he's I forgot to mention the light that comes out of him when he stabs himself in the heart blasts them with remember dust so that they'll always remember.
I see.
Is that machete thing from the book, or have you just made that up?
I made it up.
Right. So there's no evidence that he has a spaceship or not. We know he's from outer space, but
I think he does have some sort of means of transport in between planets.
It's the macroverse, isn't it? He's not from literal outer space. He's from the macroverse.
I don't know. It says he's been to many worlds, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think they're like they exist within the same space in a different dimension. I don't know. It's all a bit
like The Mist.
confusing. I think Stephen King may have been on something when he wrote it. There's no way to be sure. But,
he was high on grease paint by the sounds of it.
Strong chance. Just say that the universe was vomited up by a space turtle that had a stomachache. That is in the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The dialogue was very good, Gaz. I was impressed.
Thank you.
And a good impression. Well done.
I try. Every now and then I try with the impressions. It's no Seth Green.
Now, I don't know about these sensitive fellows, but I reckon if someone disappeared after stabbing themselves with a machete to go to another planet and rob me of my revenge, I reckon I'd be all right with it. I think I'd just get on with my life. It might be annoying for like a day or two. Then I'll just like have a poo and read the paper.
Get
right
it off your chest.
Every time you saw a paper boat, which I imagine in your life is pretty frequent, you'd
Daily.
be reminded.
Daily.
Yeah.
Daily. Yeah.
It's different horses for different courses, isn't it?
Yeah. I suppose the point isn't whether you would get over it, it's whether Bill and those guys would.
Yeah, and I wonder whether they would.
I don't think Bill would.
Yeah.
I think Bill would wither.
Because his stutter instantly comes back when he's reminded the trauma.
Right.
And he's been blasted with that remember dust. Remember. So...
Right, the remember dust, which you mentioned. Yeah. Which you were careful to mention.
Well, if there's no more questions... do you know what? Some friggin' diabolical plans there. We had Count Attacula's plan to sort of use other Stephen King novels and be subtle in taking everybody out in turn. Then we had Ben's plan, which was to annoy everybody until they got to old age and then trap them in the deadlights. Then we had Adam's plan, who lured them to a fun fair by the sewage plant and destroy everybody's confidence, basically, with things from their personal life. And then my plan, which was for Pennywise to deny the losers their own revenge. So, if everybody would cast their votes, that would be lovely. Shall we have Ben first?
I voted for the subtle approach of Count Attacula.
That's what I'm known for.
Then let's have Countatacular.
I voted for Ghost Twinkies.
Yay!
And Adam?
I have gone for the least confusing plan, which is Countatacular.
Countatacular.
Oh, you do surprise me because I thought you said it was quite confusing.
Yeah.
And I went for Adam.
Oh, split honours.
So that's 2 points apiece for Adam and Countatacular.
Beautiful.
And let's hand over to me for the scores. In joint first place are Adam and Countatacular with 6 points apiece.
Jeez.
And we're not saying last place, we're saying second place. Joint second place is myself and Ben with 2 points apiece.
But also lost.
Wow.
All right.
The gap is widening.
Good hustle, guys. Good hustle.
There's plenty of points left to get there. We're only 4 episodes in, 16 to go.
Yeah.
Turner, last season's wooden spoon winner, is rocketing ahead. He's really upped his game.
I'm not rocketing ahead. I'm level pegging with last season's winner.
Rocketing joint ahead.
Have you been juicing?
I'm rocketing ahead.
Are you taking some kind of supplements, brain supplements?
Yeah, I actually am. I'm actually taking these little things. It's lion's mane mushroom supplements, and they're supposed to boost brain activity. And I'm not
It's
drinking.
bloody working. It's bloody working.
You want to get me back on the bottle?
Yeah.
And that about does it for this week. But we shall return for another set of scintillating schemes next week. Adam will have the gift/curse of hosting next week's podcast with his choice of films. So, what we gonna do, brother?
Well, next week we'll be going to sci-fi. We'll be going to Stanley Kubrick.
We're going to be watching 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, my
Oh, a film.
If I know anything, it's that it's a film.
Seconded.
And remember to tell your friends in person and social media about Diabolical. Word of mouth is the best tool that we have, so please do pass us along. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at DiabolicalPod, and we're also on Facebook. Next week we'll be back to discuss Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, and we hope that you will join us. Until then, remember, everything will be alright in the end, and if it isn't alright, then it isn't the end.
Bravo.
To get one last whistle in.
Bravo.
Did you go to a music shop to get that, or did you just dig it out?
I bought it off eBay and it took about 2 months to arrive.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Is it used? Is it used off eBay?
It's Shanghai special, is it?
No, it's from China.
Did you have to go to post office to pay the VAT or something as well?
No, it's like £2.
You're telling me they've scrapped the penny whistle import duty?
They have.
Finally.
Brexit benefit.
Well, there you go. That's it for me. I regret ever voting Remain now.
They've signed a big trade deal for slide whistles from China.
It's worth about £10 to the British economy.
Yeah. There's a bit of a shortfall, but
£10.
you just got to buy loads of slide whistles, haven't you? Be patriotic. Buy a slide whistle.
Yeah. Just play God Save the King on the slide whistle. Loads.
Craig's on his phone ordering one now. Look at him.
Ordering 50.
Because he's a patriot.
Get 'em while they're hot.
Are we all going to have to get sound props now, really? Some kind of sound prop for each week. We each get a different sound prop. Somebody get one of the rattles. Somebody else get a mini trumpet that just makes one tone.
Do they exist? Have you just imagined that?
No, they're like a little plastic trumpet. Just goes.
Just ask Jonesy from Police Academy if he's busy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he'll say, no, I'm not.
He'll do them all. He's still waiting for the phone to ring for Police Academy 8 or 9.
Michael Winslow, his name is, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I saw him. He went on America's Got Talent a few years ago, and he was so good.
Oh, really?
He's still so great. He
Yeah.
can do like maybe he does Smoke on the Water just by himself. So
Huh.
fucking
Yeah.
great.
Got the beeps, the creeps, and the sweeps.
That's not all he's lost.